so good, and I know they are ready to go in a pot or raised bed. And so I'm going to put one in a pot. I believe this will work perfectly fine for a zucchini plant in a pot. And I cannot believe that that actually filled this pot to perfection. No way I could do that again. Okay, so I've got my pot topped off, and I'm going to go grab one of those zucchini starts. What's up, everybody? This is Danny with Growing Together, a garden story where beginner gardeners come to grow. So follow me on my beginner gardener journey as I learn all the ins and outs of growing tomatoes and peppers and flowers and fig trees and everything else that we can grow in a garden. I'm learning, and I want to help you learn right along with me. In today's video, we're really going to discuss just getting started, right? So many people, including myself, only just a couple of years ago, were sitting around saying, I don't have the room to grow a garden. I don't have a raised bed. I don't know how to grow a garden. Well, that all changed for me just last spring as I decided I'm going to build a raised bed. I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to watch YouTube and I'm going to learn everything I can about growing a garden in my backyard. And so with one raised bed, that grew into multiple raised beds, but you don't need a raised bed to grow a garden. And this time of year, as hot as it is, it's hard to believe that we're already talking about fall planting, but this time of year is a great time of year to get started. Y'all, last year was my first year growing, and when fall hit, I really enjoyed everything I was able to grow in a fall garden. Some of the pests were gone. It wasn't near as hot. My plants just did better. I started from seed last summer because I wanted to learn how to do that. Y'all, the seeds just came up, and I've got an experiment I'm going to show y'all. It can't even be an experiment because it's so easy to start seeds this time of year that those seeds just popped up and took off. And I'm going to plant some of them today. That was 3 weeks ago. Y'all, summertime, it's hot, but we think about the fall garden. Now is the best time to get started with your garden, and it doesn't take a raised bed to do that. These are the seeds that I started just 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you can see they just came up so easy. I was going to do an experiment between the double cup method, the wicking cup method, and then obviously just a single pot method in the bottom tray. But I can't even do an experiment because it's summertime and these seeds just popped up out of this soil and grew into what you're looking at right now. This was only I think it was just 3 weeks ago, and we're already here. I mean, look at this. Look at this tomato. That tomato is ready to go in the ground already. I'm not ready to put it in the ground, but it's ready. I was expecting the normal 6 to 8 weeks. But I also want to make sure that you understand that you do not have to start your garden for the very first time from seed. Last year in the spring, everything I started in my garden came from transplants, from big box. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. You don't have to start from seed to begin your garden. Go get some transplants. Go get a few things from Lowe's, Home Depot, your local home and garden center. Now, I will say this. It is 100 and something degrees here in East Texas. So if you live in East Texas, finding good transplants right now might be a little tough, but give it a couple weeks. It's the first part of August, and we know the big box stores aren't really taking care of those transplants that they're receiving in, and so they're looking a little rough. Now, your local garden center, it's a whole different story. They may have better starts for you if you're looking to go ahead and get those in the ground. Now, if you're going to start from starts from big box store, probably have still a couple more weeks before you need to start really looking at that, but it gives you time to prep your soil, prep your pots, whatever it is that you're going to plant in. I just want you to know that anybody can get started with the garden. Get off the sideline and get in the game. All right, stop thinking about it, stop talking about it, and start growing something in your yard. I know that you will be happy that you did when you start harvesting something in only a couple of months. Now let's talk about what we're going to use for containers to get started in growing something in your backyard. Y'all, you don't have to have raised beds like what you see behind me here. Last year, I did build a raised bed. That's how I got started, but I used lots of pots as well. Now, maybe I'm a little obsessive compulsive. Maybe I have somewhat of an addictive personality disorder. I don't know. But I turned one raised bed into like 6 raised beds. And I don't expect anyone else to do that in such a fast manner. But what I do want to show you is that I had lots of things growing and still do in buckets or grow bags. Last year, I had lots of tomatoes in buckets like these. Now, this is simply a bucket I bought at Lowe's. I think it's a 7-gallon bucket. It was like $6 at Lowe's, not expensive. You can grow tomatoes in that. You don't have to have a raised bed. Same with this bucket. This is one I bought at my local feed store. I really like this one. It happens to have like a small water, like a wicking reservoir in the bottom of it. I really like it. I've used several of these. I have things growing in them right now. And then, of course, this is a bucket that a fig tree came in. This is all it takes, y'all. You do not have to have a raised bed or some kind of special garden to grow tomatoes and peppers and broccoli and cucumbers. You can do all of that with buckets if you so choose. Now, you can also grow fig pots or build fig pots, I should say. And if you want to refer to my video on how to do so, maybe I'll link that right up here above, and I would appreciate the watch, the views. But you don't have to do that. You can simply get a cheap 6, 7, $8 bucket from big box store and grow all the tomatoes and peppers that you desire on your back porch if you want to. Fall is a great time to get started. I'm going to show you a little bit about how I'm going to put my garden mix in one of these small containers. I'm planning on planting a broccoli in one of those containers and see how that does this fall. I think it will be perfectly fine. One of the most important things that you can have in your container, you're going to spend $6, $7, $8 on a container, $3, $4, $5 on a start, or maybe a couple dollars on some seeds. But the most important piece of this whole puzzle, y'all, is the soil. I source my soil that I use in my containers as well as my raised beds locally. If you're in East Texas, this all comes from Big Sandy. But what I'm using here is a Vital Earth. They have a raised bed garden mix as well as a potting mix. So this company, Vital Earth, they compost all of their soil right on site, right here in East Texas. I prefer to use them. I know that you've probably got someone close to you that does the same thing. That doesn't mean you have to use locally sourced soil. You can go to big box store and buy Miracle Grow potting soil, Miracle Grow garden mix. Y'all, it works just the same. I just prefer to use locally sourced soil to grow all of my garden, my tomatoes, my peppers, my figs. Everything is growing in Vital Earth, locally sourced soil. You don't have to do that. I just want to keep that point in your minds that it doesn't take specific things. Be cognizant of your soil. But there's nothing wrong with Miracle Grow potting mix or Miracle Grow garden mix. It works great. I started with that last year. I just found Vital Earth and I just choose to use a locally sourced soil for my garden. But get what you get what you can find. For these small containers, you can use the off-brand stuff too. It makes no difference. Go to Walmart. Get some of the, what is it called, evergreen, I can't remember what their Walmart brand soil is. It's perfectly fine, y'all. You do not have to spend a lot of money or a lot of time researching the soil. If you want to, there's local places out there, I am sure. If you don't want to go through all of that trouble, run down to Walmart, run down to Lowe's, Home Depot, get some soil. I like to use half and half. I go with half garden mix, half potting soil, and then I add a lot of perlite to taste, if you will. So I like to add a lot of perlite for containers, especially because I want to keep that soil light and fluffy. I want to make sure that it drains. I don't want it to hold on to too much water, but at the same time, I don't want it to dry out too fast either. So I like to use quite a bit of perlite. Y'all, and this is something else. People will tell you that there's some kind of special formula to soil. I don't think there really is. Now, I like to mix and match a little bit. I like to use half garden, half potting, especially for my containers. In fact, for my small containers such as these, I usually use a little bit more potting mix than garden soil because I want that drainage. I don't want it to hold on to too much water. But in my raised bed, I'd go pretty much half and half. Half garden soil, half potting mix. And I really find that that is working well. I've got lots of tomatoes and peppers. I had a great season. I used this as my top off for everything in my raised bed, and it really worked well for me. I just want to show y'all what I'm talking about with the pots. It's very simple. Y'all, this soil is, I already mixed this. I've used most of it. In fact, I hope there's enough to fill this pot up for this video. But I use this to top off one of my raised beds when I cut a lot of the dwarf tomatoes out prepping for fall. But what I wanted to talk about was, it's so simple. I mix in, again, like I said, with the smaller containers, I typically go, maybe it's 60% potting and 40% garden. I don't know what the percentage is, y'all. There'll be people out there that tell you you've got to use 63% potting and 25% garden soil. Okay, I'm not going to measure everything like that. I try to guess as best as I can, get close to half and half, maybe a little bit more on the potting soil mix for the small containers, add in a bunch of perlite until I think it looks good. And that's what I go with. Y'all, it's not rocket science. Let's not make it difficult. Let's grow some tomatoes and peppers and let's do it in these containers. So really, y'all, that's all there is to it. So like I said, this is pre-mixed. I do have it pretty moist already from earlier, but we'll just fill this pot up and then we're going to put a transplant in it. I'm going to actually put I think it's a zucchini in this. I've got some transplants, all those seeds I showed earlier that I started just a few weeks ago. The zucchinis took off. I mean, they came up faster than anything, and they look so good. And I know they are ready to go in a pot or raised bed. And so I'm going to put one in a pot. I believe this will work perfectly fine for a zucchini plant in a pot. And I cannot believe that that actually filled this pot to perfection. No way I could do that again. Okay, so I've got my pot topped off and I'm going to go grab one of those zucchini starts and I will show you just how easy it is. And again, y'all, it doesn't have to be from seed. You can get your starts from wherever you can find some decent starts. I know right now they might be a little difficult to find some pretty ones, but 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, you're going to find some really pretty starts at big box, certainly at your local garden centers. So let me go grab that and we'll get it put into this pot and I'll start growing a zucchini. Real fast before we pot this zucchini up, I do want to talk about my little experiment. Can you say it's gone wrong? It really didn't go wrong. It went great. It went too great. I can't even compare the differences between the wicking cup or the double cup or the single pot in a bottom tray method because it's summertime and all of my seeds shot up just like you wish they would do all of the time. One thing I do want to point out, um, they tell us not to top water our seedlings. And so, the whole point is to bottom water, which is the whole point of this double cup method. And this one's not quite ready. This is a Loxton Last. But so to water the double cup, I got to take this cup out and fill this cup with water and then put this cup in. That was annoying. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I think it does work, but that was a little bit annoying. I can't even fathom trying to do that with 115 starts like I had this spring. The wicking cup method, same thing. I mean, so in a cup, I've got to get this string in this water to pull the water into the soil of this cup. Now, I will say these starts in the wicking cup look phenomenal. They look great. But the same thing, I got to pull this cup out of the way to get water in this cup. Then I got to make sure my string is in the water. You can kind of see if you've got 115 of those, that's going to be annoying. Also, they don't fit in these trays right. They're small at the bottom, large at the top. They just don't stack very well. However, the single pot method in a bottom tray where I can simply pour water in this tray and I water 8, 10, 12 of these at a time, however many fits in this tray. I actually think it's 16, but I can water all of them at one time. And these starts look fantastic too. I mean, look at this zucchini. This is the zucchini I'm about to put in. It's so big, it can barely hold itself up. Look at this. This is 3 weeks. 3 weeks, y'all. And this zucchini has got to go in that pot or it's going to be too large. But because of this square pots, they're all the same size. I can put 16 of them in this tray and I can water 16 at one time. I don't know, y'all. I hear lots and lots about the double cup. Maybe it works for you. I don't know. I'm going to try it again in the spring when it's a little more time consuming to grow seeds, or I should say a little more detailed to grow seeds, to grow from seed. I'm going to try it again, but right now, simply with 8 of each, whether it be the single pot, the double cup, or the wicking cup, I'm really leaning towards the single pot in the tray. I can water those so much faster than what I can these. Now, the wicking cup, I am interested in something that I saw in the wicking cup. They made a big tub and they had, I don't know how many it was. I guess you could make your tub however big. I think he had 16 as well, but he had a tub with the little strings sitting in the water and the cups sitting above it. And he was able to just water this big tub and he was watering 16 wicking cups at the same time. Now that makes more sense. I like that. I'm going to try that this next spring and see how I like it. But right now, as hard as it is to really judge, I mean, all these plants look fantastic, whether they're in the wicking cup, the double cup, or the single pot method, they all look fantastic. Only thing I can say is the time consumption of watering these plants, the single pot and watering that bottom tray and getting 16 of these at one time only seems to make sense to me. Here we go. All right, y'all. So I'm going to get this zucchini plant put in this pot. This is an elite zucchini. I just bought these seeds at Lowe's or Home Depot, some big box store. Heck, it may have come from Walmart for all I know. But I'm also going to use a bone meal fertilizer as well as just a rounded, balanced organic fertilizer. Probably going to throw some blood meal in there as well. Now, each of these fertilizers do a little bit different. The blood meal, full of nitrogen, 1200. I don't know if you can see that. All nitrogen. That's really going to jumpstart our zucchini plant here. The bone meal, this is going to help it with its roots. It is high in the P number, the phosphorus. Let's see, it's 12. So this is a 412. Yeah, 41212. So that the bone meal should really help it with root growth. And then the This one just happens to be a bloom booster as well, so it's going to be high in the middle number as well, but it's organic. This one will break down over time, as the others will too. But all of that said, I always like to put in a little bit of this with your starts. You don't have to, just something that I've gotten used to. So to get this started, I'm going to kind of cram this down. That shows me where the center is, and then I'll take some soil out around where I put it. Hopefully this pops out really nice and easy and pretty, which sometimes it doesn't want to do on video. Oh, look at that. Look at the roots. I don't know if y'all can see that. Wow. Very good looking roots. It's holding this soil together wonderfully. Again, this was in the square pot, and then I'm just going to lay him in there. I'm going to pack this soil around him, and then I'm going to put some of the fertilizer in on top of him as well. You can put some in the hole if you want to, and a lot of times I do, but I don't know. I just didn't this time. Probably because I forgot, even though I just talked about it. But we'll put a little bit of the organic, just a little bit of the blood meal. This is the high nitrogen. This is going to give it that big, pretty green growth. And then the, oops, I got to open this one. That's brand new. And then the bone meal, this is going to help it with root growth. And when you hit it with bone meal later on, it really helps with the blooms and blossoms as it begins to grow. So I'll mix that in a little bit just to get it. The soil on these organic fertilizers, the soil is what helps break that fertilizer down and makes it readily available. And then once I've got all of that in, got him standing up as pretty as I can get him, I'm going to water that in really, really well. He's new to this soil. We just took him out of his little home there and put him in this soil. So we want to give him lots and lots and lots of water, just to make sure that his roots set, that we remove any air from all of that soil we just put him in. We'll let that soak in, and then we'll hit it again. And I'll also straighten him up a little bit as that begins to soak in. But that's really all there is to it, y'all. It's so easy to get started with a fall garden. I don't want you to miss out on the window that you have coming up to start your garden. Like I said before, y'all, stop talking about it and start growing something. It's really this easy. It doesn't matter whether you start these from seed or whether you buy starts from big box. Makes no difference. Just get started. Get outside, grow something. Try not to melt in the summer heat, but get outside and get something growing. Get it started now before that fall and the shorter days really limit us on what we can grow. Now that we've talked a little bit about how we can get started, let's talk a little bit about what we can get started. So I just put a zucchini in a pot, just to show y'all. Again, I have raised beds. It doesn't take a raised bed. You can do all of this in small containers, whether it be a plastic pot or whether it be a fabric grow bag. It's up to you. Whatever you can source and use is perfectly fine. I happen to have some raised beds, so I'm going to show y'all what I've got going right here in this raised bed. Lots of basil. I love, love, love some basil. We make pesto, we dry basil, we add it into bruschetta. We do lots of things with basil. And so I've got a whole bed full of basil. And then on the other side of this is lettuce. Now, I'm going to tell you, I may be early on this lettuce, but look how pretty this lettuce is growing. I did put them over here in these beds for a reason, because they get more shade in the afternoon than the rest of them. I think that may be helping, but my lettuce is looking really good. Basil is definitely a summertime start. Buy you some basil starts, get you some seeds. Either way, basil is great to start in the summer. Lettuce, maybe you need to wait a couple weeks. Maybe don't push it like I did. But man, my lettuce is looking really good, and I cannot wait to start eating on this next week. These grow bags right here is what I had onions and garlic and such in. But something else you can start right now, especially if you're in the South, black-eyed peas. So I've put these in this grow bag and they've really shot up. Now they've been in the grow bag. I planted them direct sow, obviously with any kind of pea, but I put them in this bag probably about a month ago. And this is where I've gotten to. I may have to trellis them. I'm not 100% sure, but these grow bags have really, really paid off for me as I've planted numerous things. These two empty ones here will be taking on some zucchini, maybe some dwarf tomatoes. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to put in them, but all of these grow bags were full of onions and garlic earlier in the year, and I've just been waiting to plant them up with some fall crops. Now, this probably too late to get started, but this is my sweet potatoes. Y'all, I've never grown sweet potatoes before, but these look fantastic. And I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of dug around in the soil. I got sweet potatoes. I'm super excited to harvest those in a couple of months. But these are examples of grow bags and what you can put in grow bags. A couple of other things I wanted to show you guys that I've started already this year. Okra going bananas. But things that you can get started in the fall. I started a couple another rounds of cucumbers. That's what you see there. And then these are pole beans. These pole beans are really looking good. Once I kind of got them on the trellis, they are taking off. I don't know if y'all can see that, but they are wrapping their way around this trellis perfectly. So I have pole beans as well as more cucumbers coming as things that you can start now and still get a harvest from in the fall before it gets too late. I'm going to go ahead and close it up here. And I know I was somewhat random today, but my point in all of this video is it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get started in gardening. You don't have to have elaborate raised beds. You don't have to have elaborate gardens. A couple of pots that you can buy at big box. Maybe you've got a leftover pot from something that you bought before, some plant that you have growing in your house. That's all it takes. Take good care of your soil. That's where it all begins, is with that soil. So source some really good soil, but really that's the most important thing. Get some starts from big box, get you some seeds, get started, grow something, and join this ever-growing family of gardeners, backyard gardeners. And you will really reap the benefits when you begin to harvest tomatoes and peppers and zucchinis and eggplants. Y'all, this has become something that I'm just really passionate about. I want to see all of you growing in your backyard. It's so much fun, and there's so much to get out of growing a garden, from produce that you know where it came from, produce that you know is the proper ripeness, produce that you know doesn't have a bunch of steroids or something in it, or GMOs. If you grow it in your backyard, you know where it came from. That's important to me. I hope it's important to you. And honestly, if you're watching this video and you made it this far, I would expect that those things are important to you. So don't sit on the sidelines any longer. Get in the game. Stop talking about growing a garden and actually start growing something in your backyard. Y'all, never stop learning and never stop growing. I really appreciate you watching. If you like my content, like, subscribe, all the fun things you can do. I really appreciate the comments as well. Y'all, I've learned a lot from the comments from the people that have viewed my videos, and not just from gardening. I mean, one of the things that I've learned about video content creation came from comments on my videos. So leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Maybe I need to do better at presenting. Maybe I need to do better video editing. Just let me know. I'm learning as I grow, not just in the garden, but with YouTube and video editing as well. I'm not a YouTuber, y'all. I'm just a guy with a full-time job who loves to garden and wants to help all of you beginner gardeners grow along with me. Thanks for watching. Oh my goodness, it's hot out here. Summertime in East Texas. So stinking hot. But fall's right around the corner. Hobby Lobby is full of Christmas decor. It's bananas, just crazy. What are we doing? It's August and we're already talking about Christmas. But seeds got to get started. Plants got to get planted. Fall will be here before we know it.